Kayak Lux, it doesn't a rending hit do an auto glance, not a pen? And then Punished One responds to him by saying, against armor 13, correct. They needed to re-roll the D3 for the rending hits. So, obviously it depends what's shooting at what, right? If there's a strength 6 weapon firing at a predator with armor 13, then it's not auto pen. It'd be auto glancing because you roll a die and you get a 1. That's an auto glance, right? So you're automatically going to glance no matter what, but you should still roll a die because you might get a penetrating hit on top of the 1, so it still needs to be rolled. So that is correct. If it wasn't done in the video, then it should have been done. Punished One says, also, Dave, and They Shall Know No Fear allows units with the rule to move the extra 3 inches without counting as having moved. So they can move 9 inches in total. Okay, so this is going to be a section of the video where I focus a little bit of time on this, because after some research, I have come to this conclusion. But before I tell you the conclusion, I'm going to just go over what it says for both of these things. Page 21 of the Grey Knights Codex, under And They Shall Know No Fear, says this. I'm going to read the first part here. Grey Knights automatically pass tests to regroup and can take such tests even if the squad has been reduced to less than half strength by casualties, though all other criteria apply. Usually troops that regroup cannot move normally and always count as moving whether they do or not, but these restrictions do not apply to models subject to this special rule. There's a key phrase there, which I'll come back to in just a sec. Now page 46 of the 40K rulebook says this, under regrouping. A unit falling back can attempt to regroup by taking a regroup test in the movement phase just before they move. This is a special type of leadership test, which falling back units cannot attempt if any of the following conditions apply. The unit is below half strength, there are enemies within 6 inches, or the unit is not in coherency. And then it goes on to say, if they are assaulted while falling back, and then the next paragraph here that I want to focus on says, if the unit successfully passes its leadership test, it stops falling back and regroups. The unit can immediately move up to 3 inches. This move is unaffected by difficult terrain, but dangerous terrain tests must be taken as normal. So basically what it says here is a unit that is falling back can take a test to regroup unless it is not in coherency, is within 6 inches of another enemy unit, or they're below half strength. Now, in They Shall Know No Fear, it says that they can still take the test even if they are below half strength, though all other criteria apply, meaning if they're not in coherency or if they're within 6 inches of an enemy unit. So the other thing that I wanted to focus on is the 3 inch, because that's important, right? The basic question is, if a Space Marine unit that has And They Shall Know No Fear, when they auto regroup, how far do they move? Do they move 3 inches? Do they move 6 inches? Do they move 9 inches? This is the conclusion that I've come to. They move their regular 6 inches in the movement phase. And the reason why I'm saying that, and I'm saying that confidently and using what it says in the rule book and in the And They Shall Know No Fear entry to back up what I'm saying here. And this is why. Because a regular unit that doesn't have that rule, And They Shall Know No Fear, moves 3 inches, right? If they pass their regrouping test. They move 3 inches. That's the rule, right? And They Shall Know No Fear says this. Usually troops that regroup cannot move normally and always count as moving whether they do or not, but these restrictions do not apply to models subject to this rule, the rule being And They Shall Know No Fear. Moving 3 inches in the movement phase after you've regrouped, that's a restriction. That's a movement restriction. So if that restriction is taken off, there is no restriction, then you move your regular movement. You don't add that restriction to your movement, meaning you move 9 inches, you just move 6. So that is my logic. Space Marines that have that rule move 6 inches. You can argue the point if you want, but that's what I think. That's just the words that are right in front of me. That's the conclusion that I've come to. If you agree, let me know. If you disagree, show me why you disagree, because I think the words are pretty clear. They're pretty clear there. Now let's go on. 4 minutes spent on that point, but that's a very important point. It's important to know that. Okay. Tank Kitty says, Razorback has a Stormbolter, does it not? And therefore, the transport should have been a box, not a wreck. Page 35 of the Blood Angels Codex says this under Razorback War Gear. Their war gear includes a twin-linked heavy bolter. That's it. Now they can choose to switch out their twin-linked heavy bolter for a twin-linked last cannon, twin-linked whatever else, a heavy flamer, assault cannon, a last cannon, and twin-linked plasma gun. But they aren't automatically equipped with a Stormbolter. In order to get a Stormbolter on a Razorback, you got to pay an extra 10 points, which I did not. Therefore, there was only a twin-linked last cannon on my Razorback. So he was a wreck. That was correct. Maverick 452. I knew my rules when I played Dave. Just didn't use them, and no, the Stormbolter is replaced by a last cannon. That is in response to one of the guy's comment before, but that's actually incorrect because the Stormbolter has to be purchased. It doesn't replace the last cannon. Demon Prince yourself. I think your brother's Sanctuary, brothers meaning Andrew, who isn't actually my brother, I think Andrew's Sanctuary had a little bit more than 12 inches between the Librarian and the Strike Squad. On a side note, he has the same rolling technique as you. Apparently, it's in the genes. Now, what are you talking about when you say rolling? Anyway, 12 inches for Sanctuary. If that is the rule, if a unit has to be within 12 inches of the model that has Sanctuary, then that's the rule. And that is the rule because that's the pop-up that came up. And if that didn't happen, then I didn't catch it. And he was either cheating or didn't catch it. I give him the benefit of the doubt, and I say that he wasn't cheating, and he just simply didn't catch it. So I always lean in that favor to an opponent. And the reason why I do that is because in the event that they are not doing that unintentionally, that they are doing it intentionally, then that means they're cheating. And if they are cheating, and if they still don't beat me, if they're cheating, that just shows that I'm a better player than them. And if that's the case, then all the better for me, right? But if I lean on the side of caution, giving them the benefit of the doubt, then I think it's just a better gaming attitude to play when you're playing against opponents. I think they call that sportsmanship, but I try not to. That sounded kind of arrogant. I try to. You know what? Okay, forget it. Just take what I said before, and that's the answer. Darkened Light at hotmail.com says, I don't believe Stealth gave you a cover save. I thought it simply added one to it. Shrouding, the psychic power of Shrouding allows a 6+ cover if there is no save. That's actually the answer to the question. He didn't have a save, and if there is no cover save, if you have Shrouding, you cast it and it works, then you're given a 6+ cover save if there is no cover save available. If there is a cover save available, then that group gets Stealth. And we all know that Stealth improves your cover save by 1, as per page 76 of the 40k rulebook. Now, Eldar Exodite says, he has to use Shrouding at the beginning of the shooting phase. He didn't use it when you shot the heavy bolter at his paladins. Then, when you wounded with your last cannon, he used it? Something 'tis rotten in the state of Denmark. That kind of made me laugh. It's funny. But this is interesting because I actually disagree with that because of the wording of what it says in the Grey Knights Codex. It says under page 25 of the Grey Knights Codex, under Shrouding, it says, this power is used during the opponent's shooting phase. Now, why would it say during when there's many another psychic powers that are clarified with "at the beginning of," or "at the end of," or "in the beginning of the assault phase," or "when XX is attacked." Like, it clarifies, right? So it says during the enemy shoot phase. So that to me would mean that any time during the enemy shoot phase, you roll for the psychic ability. It didn't specify by saying at the beginning. And so I would rule in the favor of rolling any time during the enemy shoot phase, because there are other psychic abilities that clarify if you need to do it at the beginning. I know I repeated myself there, but let's go on to the next comment. Argelmir. I thought that you had to put wounds up to the amount of wounds a model has before you allocate to another one, if and only if they have the same war gear. From what Andrew said in the video, he allocated one wound to one regular guy and then another to another regular guy. Shouldn't the first guy die, then the last one stay as if with no wounds? Or did they have different war gear? The answer to that question is they had different war gear. That's why he was wounding them separately. And page 26 of the 40k rulebook explains complex units and taking saves against them and wounding them accordingly. If you want to learn more about how to allocate wounds on multiple wound units with different war gear, page 26 of the rulebook explains that. So